Back again for another live stream. It has been too long, and yes, I've gone a little bit stir crazy. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a fan. Not completely, at least. I decided I was going to tear down the beard. First time I've done that in probably 2.5 years, probably. My chin's a little cold, a little bit cold, I will admit that. But I decided I was going to leave it up to you guys, let you guys vote on what I would tear down to. I actually did consider going with choice A, which was kind of like a mutton chop sort of thing first, and then progressing to the horseshoe, the Hulk Hogan horseshoe there. But alas, I'm not very even-handed apparently when it comes to trimming for that. So I pretty much jumped straight to the horseshoe. This is going to be quite temporary, I must say, because, yeah, I don't think I can pull it off too well. Every time I shave, I ultimately find myself thinking that my face is a little bit too round to work without a beard. But all the same, I wanted to jump on here. Here, I'll give you the close-up shot here. Whoopah! Give you the close-up of the Fu Manchu. It's not really a Fu Manchu. That's an inaccurate comparison there. But yes, we have the horseshoe beard. Now, it's a late stream. I realize this. It is a very late stream for when we usually jump on here. I see first in the house we actually had the hater, Eastside Harold. What up, Eastside? Then we got Gle. Always in the house, Gle. And I see we got Micker45 as well. What's up, guys? Now, this is pretty much an open forum live stream. If you want to talk sports, I'm here to talk sports. If you just want to chat in general, if you're a little stir crazy, as I have been, then we will roll with it. But yeah, I basically just wanted to jump on here. It felt a little too long since I'd last jumped on. I know that the minimal amount of sports going on has kind of slowed down the channel content a little bit. The film analysis for the thing is still coming. I am still editing part 2 and 3, but I am still juggling, for the moment at least, a full-time work schedule with a full-time school schedule, which has kept me pretty busy as well. So with that in mind, it's just taken a little longer. Now, there is NFL news, Eastside, talking Texans, and I mentioned the DeAndre Hopkins trade. You do have Watson, I give you that, but my God, that was a janky trade to lose Hopkins for a running back. I mean, 3 years ago, yeah, you had a phenomenal running back in David Johnson. I still think he's good, but I don't think a elite wide receiver, especially in the modern game, is worth giving up to get a quality running back. So I have a hard time seeing how that's a good move for you. That said, I'm not pretending the Cowboys have had a perfect offseason either. Although they are still talking about getting a long-term deal with Dak, I think that's good. But I think they've let a couple guys get away that they probably shouldn't have let get away. I know Byron Jones got stupid money to go to Miami, but at the same time, I do get the feeling that he would have gladly stayed had they dealt with him any time in the last year and a half. If they had locked him up, they could have locked him up, and he would have taken way less. I think basically it got to the point where they pretty much had decided, like, yeah, we only want you at like 12 or 13 million. We're not going to go beyond that. And he's like, dude, you can't ask me to leave 5 million or whatever per year on the table when I can just go elsewhere. So I think that pretty much locked it in that regard. But yeah, it is what it is. So I don't have as much beard to stroke as usual, so I just kind of have to follow the horseshoe. So yes, I've not by any means felt braggadocious about the Cowboys offseason. But you know what? It is the only thing going on sports-wise. Other than that, I've just been covering wrestling. And I do think I'm going to jump on here soon and start doing some more crosstalk streams with Big Game James, Law Nation, those guys. And kind of just work my way back into the flow a little bit because, in the lead up to the draft, all right, the NFL draft is still something on my desk fell over and kind of caught me off guard. Has kind of taken me by surprise a little bit just with everything going on. The NFL draft is still scheduled. Now they'll have no fans in attendance. Obviously, it's going to be as surreal as the rest of the sports world has been. But that will definitely, I think, help me ease into things. Now, as Glad points out, Travis Frederick, Cowboys center, 29 years old, does retire prematurely. But in all honesty, after his bout with Guillain-Barré syndrome, I really was surprised that he came back last year. And I think last year was almost like he wanted to prove it to himself kind of thing. Because it sounds like if you go through that, it's not like he's worried about that syndrome again. It sounds like by everything that, we did a lot of research, and obviously it was a huge talking point for like a year around here. If you go through that, if you have that illness and have to struggle through it, you get to the other side and you're clear. It's not like you have another bout of it later on down the road. It's not like cancer that pops back up or something else that can crop up every so often. Regardless, it's not one of those situations. It's not something he had the risk of encountering again. It's just, it is how it is. So he retires. I feel like this last year for him was just wanting to prove it to himself. He feels he did that. It wasn't his best year, but he was still clearly Pro Bowl level talent. I don't know how he wound up in like comeback player of the year, but it's an award that usually goes to like a quarterback or a running back or a receiver. They don't look at offensive linemen obviously for something like that typically, but I think he was deserving of the discussion for sure. So yeah, it's a shocker for sure, but you know what? The Cowboys I think had more time, more heads up that this might be coming, so I don't think it throws the draft plans into the wind for them. I just think that they have to make an adjustment now. They're going to have to draft higher on offensive line. I'll say this, had they not given a 5-year, $100 million deal to Amari Cooper, $20 million a season, I definitely think that if they had signed Dak and franchised Amari, my move would have been, however I got to get him within reason, CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma in the first round. I think that would have been a perfect pickup there. Being an OU guy, I've watched CeeDee Lamb through his entire career, and I know that dude is a major difference maker. And in an offense with this, and with the weapons that we have, he could be damn good. So, as is, Dak for now is tagged. They're still trying to work out a deal. They gave Amari his huge deal. And now we're just kind of sitting in a situation where we don't know what we're going to do at the start of the first round. So there's needs out there for sure. I mean, we need a cornerback. We need as Maker45 points out, we need now offensive line because of Travis Frederick and this surprising retirement. There's a lot of needs for this team. Cornerback's a need. With Byron gone, you still need a safety. Jeff Heath is gone. Basically, a bunch of the Cowboys' defensive players went to Oakland in that regard. Jason Witten went there as well. So it's a very interesting thing. No contract for Dink and Dak. That's a funny bit because it means you don't look at any of the stats to actually see how much he does push the ball downfield. But, whatever you want to point to. Tom Brady had a higher check down the last 3 years than Dak, but, whatever you want to rock with, East Side. But yes, it is what it is. They have things that they need. They have needs. And there's a fair bit of them, honestly, for bringing in McCarthy and pretty much saying, hey, we expect that Garrett had a team that we felt should have won a Super Bowl, which I always thought was a little ridiculous. I always said, hey, let's just get back to an NFC championship game before we talk about anything bigger than that. Hadn't been there in 25 years, so let's move on. But with that being the case, they don't accomplish that with Garrett, so he moves on, and so the expectation you would assume then hands off to McCarthy. Hey, very young team. We think we got a team ready to contend. Okay, cool. Oh, by the way, you're going to lose your top cornerback. Okay. Oh, by the way, you're going to lose this guy. Like, it starts kind of running down the line, and you're like, some of these guys were very keepable. Some of these guys were very, very affordable. Like, what was the deal that Nebraska defensive tackle that we had? His name is actually escaping me at the moment. He went to Oakland on a 1-year deal, and he's a guy who had flag. I mean, he played solid defensive tackle for the Cowboys. Now, he wasn't a major guy. He was just a guy within the rotation. But when you see how cheaply he went in his contract to Oakland, you're like, damn, they didn't want to pay him that? I mean, that's where you kind of see it gets a little iffy. Now, they do sign Gerald McCoy, obviously, with him being 32. Again, another OU guy. I love OU. So there's a little bit of favoritism for me there, but I can recognize he's a bit long in the tooth, a bit past those days. So him getting a 3-year deal is even more surprising, I think. But they'll figure it out. They will figure it out. But I don't know. There's a lot to sort through for them. Eastside Herald, in garbage time, you mean? Garbage time last year, yeah, half the year last year, they kept, like, especially late in the year, they'd fall behind by big margins, and they would claw back but run out of time. Again, you have no perception of the full scope narrative because you're taking the picture of, like, the last little part of the season and trying to apply it to 4 full years of his career, which makes no sense. So, no. I think the coaches know what they are doing, says Micker45. I think they have an idea of what they're, I mean, I'm not saying like, oh, they have no idea what they're doing, obviously. I think they have an idea of what they want to do. Now the question is, through the draft and other things, which can be so unpredictable, can they do it? Because this team is very frustrating in the sense that they don't spend money. Like, we used to talk about how Jerry was reckless with money and reckless with trades and draft picks and things like that, right? Like the Roy Williams trade, paying $50 million to Brandon Carr. Like, that was the last big money deal that he went out and did, where people were just like, whoa, what are you doing? But since then, it's gone the opposite direction. Now they never want to spend. Now they're a very young, talented team, but they didn't invest the way they should have. When they had Dak all these years as a, late 4th round quarterback, starting and winning these games for them, they should have poured money into. Is it just me or does DDP's live streams not show up on my subscriptions page? I don't know what that would be about, Gle. If that's the case, that sucks. All I can say is ring the notification bell. I know YouTube's been messing with stuff again, so it might just not be working right now, or you say ever. Who knows? But yeah, it's very much a situation where it's just a matter of if they can do it, right? There's a lot of moving pieces here. Obviously, the draft can be very unpredictable. Would not surprise me in the least if someone the Cowboys want is right there, and then you have Atlanta or someone jump up to snatch them. That would be a buzzkill, but it is what it is, and it's happened before. So, let's see here. Hit me with some questions in here, guys. Let's roll with some questions. I know we got a small crowd right now, but let's roll with some questions. I was actually hoping that by jumping on here so late, admittedly, I was hoping that given the kind of quarantine status and jumping on here so late with so many of our subscribers coming, from Europe and all of that, I was hoping to kind of catch them when they were up and around, but it does not seem that that's the case. It seems like I just chose the worst possible time to host a live stream. So, buzzkill there. But you know what? Doesn't matter if I got 1 people or 1,000 people in the chat. I'm here. I'm here for the set amount of time. Let's talk. Hit me with some questions, and we'll talk. Doesn't have to be football. You can jump on to, hell, you can ask me stuff on Mavericks. You can ask me stuff on wrestling. You can ask me stuff about the thing or even myself. This is just a quarantine stream. Wide open forum. Whatever you want to talk about. As I work the horseshoe Hulk Hogan mustache, brother. Let's see. Who do I want the Cowboys to draft at 17? I have a couple ideas on that. My main my main focus right now, I'm thinking, is more, I want the draft to be defense heavy. And so I know they'll never go safety that high, even though they have McCarthy now and he has drafted safeties high. I don't think it'll be that. I think probably what they should look there is an edge rusher. I think that would be the best. And there's a couple I like there, but that would be my wish list, would be give me someone to rush the passer. Because, yeah, you got Gerald McCoy there, and, that's a decent little get, but you lost your best pass rusher from last year. Now, seeing the contract he went to, Robert Quinn, the contract he went to for the Bears, I'm not surprised. I was not okay with matching that. Hell, I wanted to keep him, but he's 29 years old and has had like 2 major back surgeries, and he has a birth defect in his lower back as well that has always been a red flag on his evaluations for physicals. So I'm not super hyped about that. Yes, Randy Gregory is coming back, but even with the new CBA, I still have concerns. Because it's not just that he smokes a lot of weed to kind of cope with his stress and anxiety and all that. It's other personal problems as well. Like, that's the main thing. That's what's making him fail these drug tests and everything like that. And in the new CBA, that's going to be much more lax, which is great for him. But I do think there might still be enough problems there. And even if there's not, consider how many games he's played, how little he's played in his 4 years in the league. I mean, he was part of that 15 team, right? Yeah, he was there 15. So he's had 5 years here. At this point, as little as he's played, I think he could have he's got a lot of great bend and he's got a great burst. But I think it would be asking a lot or expecting a lot to just assume he jumps in there and he looks like the guy that we drafted in terms of the ceiling. I think he can be a solid contributor for us. I just think that we need to definitely take into consideration an edge rusher, even with that. Let's see. I wanted to see McCarthy and Cobb back together. Yeah, I mean, I like Randall Cobb just fine as a third receiver, but he is a guy who, again, has had a lot of health issues in his career. And for the deal he went to Houston, Eastside, I don't think he's still in here, but if he is, the deal he went to Houston is a lot to pay for Randall Cobb, especially in guaranteed money. We got him 1 year, $5 million before, so him getting $18 million guaranteed was like, yeah, no thanks. No thanks. If we're talking about how we can't keep Byron Jones, who's way more valuable to our team than Cobb was, then okay, fine. You're not keeping Cobb. Move on. Figure it out. But I think that's part of the frustration right now is that you don't really know who the salary cap has kept us from maintaining or retaining rather. In this case, like, there's definitely a lot of guys that we let go that we didn't have to let go. This is an evaluation thing. This is something where Steven and them say, I like Byron Jones a lot at this number. And then when his price went too far beyond that number, they said, okay, we're out. I think that's what it boiled down to. I think they liked him just fine. It's just that it wasn't a financial fit for them. And as long as they're willing to spend and actually try to do something with this team, I'm for it. But the thing is, the amount we've invested the last few years in our team as we're saying, hey, we're going for it all, is pitiful. I understand you can spend big and lose, but I'd rather spend big and lose as long as you're not giving insane deals. I'm not saying give Byron the deal he got from Miami to keep him, but spend big and try to win it all. Like Philadelphia did. When they won the Super Bowl, they made several moves in the year, in the offseason leading up to that season. And then even in the season itself, they were making significant trades. They traded for Jay Ajayi. They made several moves that massively helped that team. And then when they won the Super Bowl, rolling it back the next year, they said, you know what? Now we're going to make a move, like several more moves, where we're going to try and back it up, like go back to back. Now, obviously, they didn't. They got beat in the, I think, second playoff game because they got back past the Bears on the Parkey clanker off the uprights. But yeah, it's just a situation where it's like, that's aggressive. And as a fan, that's what I want to see my team do. Not draft well and then say, all right, we just got to hope that they eventually can put it together themselves. Because you can't just bank on that. You have to put the pieces around them and try to make it happen. And I just don't feel like the Cowboys have done that. I feel like they make the base moves and then just kind of leave it out there on its own and hope for the best. And you can say, hey, how much of that was the Garrett philosophy on how to do things and how much could that be different now that you have McCarthy? I don't know. I mean, that's the truth. I don't know how impactful Mike McCarthy will be for us. I'm very curious to see. It's not a candidate. It's not a signing when they signed him as the new head coach. It's not one that blew my mind. Like, it's not one that I was like, holy shit, they got Mike McCarthy. It was kind of like, oh, wow, okay, well, he's a Super Bowl winning coach. I mean, he's been tied to Aaron Rodgers for his whole career until now. So, I mean, he had Favre, obviously, first. But, you kind of wonder. You're like, I don't doubt that he's a good coach, but how much of that is having an all-time great quarterback, and before that, another Hall of Fame all-time great quarterback to kind of help his resume. Now, he obviously played a key part in the development of Rodgers, and even the Brett Favre resurgence late in his career in Green Bay before he went to Minnesota and put up that last big career year. But, yeah, it's just something where you have to kind of question how much of it is that it's a perfect fit and how much of it is, hey, we're throwing a guy, like, this is the biggest name of anyone we've talked to. This is the biggest name we could throw out there. And therefore, the fans have to get off Jerry's back now because that was how loud they were about not having a championship caliber coach. Well, here you go. Here's one obviously right here. This is the biggest name I could have given you. Can't be mad now. But how much of it is actually going to change? How much is the process going to change? How much is his influence going to be allowed to expand? That's the question. So it's all going to be an interesting game to watch unravel as this season goes on. How much has changed, and to what degree does the offense step forward? Because the offense wasn't the problem last year, and you're still going to have Kellen Moore calling the plays this year, and that's good. That's good to keep that familiarity there with Dak, but I am very curious to see how everything just unfolds. I want to see more two-back sets. I want to actually see us use two-back sets there because there's a lot more we can do with that. And I want to see, even though this isn't McCarthy, I just want to see the defense actually be able to get pressure on the quarterback and create some turnovers. Now, turnovers aren't the end-all, be-all, but they got a lot of value. And this team has been terrible at generating turnovers for years. And what's weird is some of our better defensive players who have left and gone elsewhere, didn't get turnovers here, have started getting turnovers when they leave. So how much of that is like a weird cultural thing here? But even the last couple of years, we had Chris Richard. So it's just a weird kind of conglomerate of factors that I don't think we fully understand. If Byron Jones goes to Miami and gets like 5 interceptions this year, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be pissed because that was the one element of his game that he was missing that made us say, yeah, okay, we like you a lot at the price, but not the price you're going to get where you're like the highest paid cornerback or the second highest paid, whatever it is. We don't like that value. So if he now goes and adds that element to his game, which justifies that expense, then it's just like, oh, God, we had you and we developed you, and now we're letting this other team reap the benefits. Let's see. Who do we still got in the house here? What good? Looks like we got 3 people in the house currently. Oh, man. That was a good question. I got a nice little roll of ranting going. Are the Mavs going to win the championship this year if the season resumes? This year, probably not. Again, they're a young team. They need a lot of valuable experience. And even if the season starts in like June, which is usually when it would wrap up, you're getting healthy, obviously. Except for Dwight Powell, he'll take like a full year and really more like a year and a half, 2 years to get right from his Achilles. But at the same time, you can make a lot of headway in the right direction, I think. You need experience for those guys. You need KP and Luka to get their first playoff experience. I think you could see a situation where... Because if we come back this year, I think we come back like straight into the playoffs, just you're seeded as you are, which would make us matching off in the first round with the Clippers. We're the 7, they're the 2. That does not bode well for us. But at the same time, both teams are going to be very rusty, and the Mavericks are a much younger team. So while that might work against them in terms of, well, if both teams are super rusty and, not a well-oiled machine, maybe that favors the more experienced team who's at least been there before and has the mental edge, potentially. But to the degree that conditioning and all of that does play, just general youth, it could work the Mavericks' advantage because the Clippers are very much a older veteran team built to win now. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting conversation. But I still think they probably don't get over the hump in this case. I think that they have to get this learning experience first. Trevor Foster, what's good? Yes, if you're just now joining, then obviously you see the unveil of the horseshoe mustache as was voted on in the community tab. I don't love it. But I'm rocking it for at least a few days, and then I'll probably do a complete teardown and just start building out the beard better than ever. But I want to do something in quarantine, something help establish the time that was passing. So by just completely tearing it all down, it kind of gives me something to... Some people in prison movies, they'll take the piece of chalk and they'll write on the wall the tally marks noting all of the days. For me, I'm counting the whiskers on my chinny chin chin as they start rolling back. It's called a 70s porn stash. The porn stash is just the stash. I mean, this is a horseshoe mustache. Definitely fits in that. Eastside, I don't even know why Streamlabs is yelling at you. Don't worry about it. Sometimes Streamlabs is, that's not me. That's just an automatic bot yelling at you for stupid overprotective reasons. But yeah, it's, the horseshoe is different. This is like the Hulk Hogan mustache. Although I also hear, I haven't seen it yet, but I also hear that Tiger King show has that too. Yeah. That's not the inspiration for this. I haven't seen that, although I've certainly heard more than enough about it. Let's see. So yes, Mavericks, I think they need the experience first. So I'm not willing to throw my hat into that. Not yet. McCarthy's gonna bring his massage chair to Dallas. Possibly, yeah. There's definite questions there on that element for what he's going to do. I've heard some of the stories with Green Bay, and that was other reasons that I had some apprehension, but we'll see. Let's see. DDP's been here, Eastside. DDP's been checking in pretty much weekly, at least. And I still have been dropping other videos, too. Oh, man. Keep rolling in with those questions. Yeah, so the next video for my series on The Thing, Part 2, which will go... Part 1, if you watched it, went through who sabotaged the blood bank, answering all that with all the theory and analysis. Part 2 will go then through the blood test. And interestingly, just for shits and giggles, I watched the movie yet again just in the last couple days. And as I mentioned in my part 1 video, it's still very much a movie that no matter how many times you rewatch it, you catch new little details and you find answers to things that you didn't know. And now there's something that I definitively say in the video that I've already recorded, that now not only did I find an answer for it, but it raises another question. Now, it's not like a earth-shattering one that repackages or reframes the entire discussion for my ending theories, but it does answer an important question, which gives you kind of a better idea and disproves one of the other things. Although I kind of dismissed it out of hand in a different way in the video, this now gives me a definitive answer. I believe in that. And it's a very subtle thing that my buddy Matt, again, helped me. He's also a fanatic of The Thing. And he was able to point that out to me. And I watched it again, and it was just like, oh, damn show is. Let's see. So yes, there is a slight chance I re-record that part, but it does not affect the production of the video. I also had some new equipment come in. My mic in part 1, it's a lav mic. It was a cheap lav mic, and it was trash. I don't want to use it again. So, yeah, original lav mic sucked. Not using that again. This time I'm going to use the Rode Wireless Go system with a new Rode lav mic that should make a world of difference for my sound quality for that type of video. Like this, I can't use this mic for it because, with that video I was standing up and it was just a different kind of format than this. So hopefully that all quality-wise improves. And since now I have a reason to kind of want to reshoot the audio to make this amendment based on my last viewing, it makes sense and it kind of plays into its part well. What have you been up to, DDP, without basketball? Well, quarantine in general has pretty much kept me limited at home, obviously. In my county here, we have a pretty much stay home mandate, like a shelter notice. They basically say, like, unless you're leaving for, like, absolutely essential reasons, like groceries, medicine, pharmaceutical company stuff, go to the pharmacy, or like food, your dog going to the vet can in some cases count. Hilariously, I actually saw a study showing that Texas is by far drinking the most alcohol of any state in the United States during quarantine, and that's the least damn surprising thing I've seen. I'm actually only now not having a drink as we speak because I forgot to make my drink before starting the video. So otherwise I would be having a drink here myself. But yeah, I've definitely contributed to that a little bit because even though I'm still working full-time on my job schedule for now and juggling my full-time school schedule, that's kept the main hours of my day still pretty full. And so while I do have more free time than I had before, it's still not a ton of free time. Like, yeah, I've got 5 classes and I've got, a full-time job that takes minimum 40 hours a week. Some weeks it's like 55, depends. And I got a wife that's 6 months pregnant, 6.5 months pregnant about at this point. And so, yeah, there's just different things that kind of take time. So some of it's preparing the old game room, now nursery, prepping that. Other parts of it is just plugging away at everything else I've been doing. So honestly, the one thing that I am frustrated with is that I have not had more time to write. That's one thing I really want to do more of. So that's my big want that I'm still trying to figure out. And maybe when the semester dies down, because semester ends in about mid-May, I think that'll open some things up a little bit. To my point earlier, which I see Eastside just called out as well, not only is Texas drinking the most alcohol, the most liquor specifically, Texas actually deemed liquor stores as one of the essential businesses that had to stay, or that was allowed to stay open during this emergency, during this crisis. So I could go pretty much any day, although liquor stores are closed on Sundays here. Pretty much any day of the week, roll into a liquor store, and it still operates largely like usual. I mean, they have more, hand sanitizing wipes and things like that for like the baskets and the bottles if you want to wipe them down. But yeah, I've definitely made a trip or two out there in the 2 weeks I've been cooped up. So very, very good there. Yeah, liquor stores are still making bank. And I love how, like, a year ago, Texas started allowing, like, craft beer, like some certain craft beers to be shipped to your door. And they're like, it's gotta meet these real specific standards, but, we can allow for this a little bit, I guess. And then, like, the second a crisis hits, they're like, F it, we're all gonna die, just here you go. Whatever alcohol you want. Hell, a restaurant can give you a, Slurpee straw with a gallon of Patron and call it a day, Like, I could order food from a restaurant to go, and I can get, like, whatever big size they're selling, basically, of a margarita or something to go. Like, that's pretty sweet. I like that. There's definitely a couple restaurants around here that have excellent margaritas. My favorite is the Patron Perfecto from Fresca's. If they gave me like a gallon of that, I'd be gone for the weekend. But you know what? I would enjoy the hell out of it. So yeah, Texas upped the bar after all this time. They kind of dipped their toe in the water and were like, still a little chilly. I don't think I want to get to that point yet. And then as soon as shit hit the fan behind them, they're just head first into it, just like, F it, whatever you want, get it all, buy it all. Let's see here. DDP, do you watch Ozark? I've seen season 1 and 2. I have not started season 3 yet. I loved season 1. Season 2 was a little more frustrating for me, but I've not yet started season 3, and I am curious to do so. Let's see here. Do you think Tim Hardaway Jr. will re-sign with the Mavericks after next year? I think he actually ends up opting out this year. He has a player option for next year for the summer. I think he opts out and re-signs here. I think he does that because he can get a better long-term security. He's 27 years old. He'll be 28 starting next year. And so I think he, big picture, gets more immediate job security because you got to think about how his career has kind of gone. Now, he got that stupid deal from the Knicks, and at the time he got it, people were like, my God, the Knicks overpaid this guy. He's a nice player, but my God, they overpaid him. Now, in the span of just, from the start of the year and really the end of the first month of the season to where he was right before the season, was put on hold, basically, tremendous change in the perception of Tim Hardaway Jr. and the franchise. I think even the franchise kind of went from viewing him as a slightly, they still liked him more than I think a lot of the fans did initially, but much more receptive to keeping him long-term because he does fit very well as that third guy in a lot of situations. I don't think he's a perfect third option by any means, but I think he fits very nicely and he can be a flamethrower for you as well. So with that said, I think all the kind of wishy-wash of his career to this point, I think he opts out now, banks on the good energy vibe, whatever you want to call it, equity he's kind of built up with the Mavs organization, gets a very similar deal that pays him about the same amount of money, something in that, below part 19 probably to $22 million range per year, which again, with how NBA contracts are inflating, isn't terribly crazy as you keep moving forward. And with that said, doing that would give him then 4 or 5 years perhaps, as opposed to, hey, I got this last year before my current contract runs out, and now I just got to hope I can sustain it for another year or year and a half even. So I think he banks now, takes it to the bank now, and cashes in. My favorite movie of all time. The Thing might be my favorite film because the more, as I said, the more I watch it, the more I'm just invigorated by it. Like, it's fascinating to me, and no matter how many times I watch it, even after all these years, I can still find new little things that answer certain things, just little context clues. And some of the framing and all of that is just brilliant. Like, some of these things, some of these subtle clues, like, you'll have a guy, and this isn't giving away anything in my video because I don't talk about it in my video, but during the blood test, for instance, when you're trying to figure out if this person is infected or not, as they're doing the blood test to determine that, the petri dish with the blood is sat down on a newspaper. The newspaper fold has a headline. I can't remember what the headline says in full, but with how the petri glass is set over it and how the shot is framed, it basically says something to the effect of, like, on his side. And it's telling you he's on his side. Like, this guy, it's like subtle clues like that. But then there's someone else who isn't able to be trusted, and it's not set in a similar way like that. There's just these tiny little obscure details that I think really give these, just really enrich the film. There are other films as well that I like a lot. I like a lot of the older films, honestly. A bunch of the ones like 12 Angry Men is a classic. You have Vertigo is great. Birds. The Shining, although I like the book better than the Kubrick masterpiece. I kind of view them as almost separate. I think the book is better, but I do appreciate the film. What's another one? Rear View is very good. That's another Hitchcock, I believe. So yeah, those are cool. As far as more modern movies, I mean, you got like The Dark Knight. Obviously, I enjoyed the hell out of most of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah, Empire Strikes Back. I want to do, one of the things I want to do more, and this is a chance for me to kind of flex the writing muscle a little bit. I want to do more videos, and that's what my part 3 of this thing series is going to be. I want to basically, for the sake of a creative exercise, rewrite these films and basically lay out, hey, here's how they did it. Here's where it works. Here's where it doesn't. Now, here's how they should have done it. And, here's how I would have done it, basically. I think that'll be a lot of fun, a good creative writing exercise for me for that. And so with that, one of my first ones I'm going to roll out is going to be the 2011 prequel to The Thing, also called The Thing. Yeah. But that'll be one. I already did this one years ago. I just never published it. It's saved as a file on my MacBook. But a video on the Last Jedi. Completely redid that. I did a lot of work on that. Other ones that I want to do, like Suicide Squad, the new Men in Black International, I redid that. And that one didn't take a lot. That one just needed a few things really added, so I didn't want to make a video or anything out of that. But basically just things like that. I think that's a lot of fun to do. And the thing is, with kind of how the channel's been set up and everything, it's a sports channel. It's a sports platform. So me jumping on and talking about anything else is difficult because it's not going to draw the audience. Even the Thing Part 1 video has like 100 views right now, and that was many hours of work. So I understand you got to build it up and get to that point. It's just a matter of I kind of have an understanding of how to grow this community and audience around specifically the NBA and the Mavericks. I don't yet have the formula for how to grow the more pop culture based content that I'm pushing over to my other channel, Cheap Pop. So yeah, all I can say on that, just if you like those ideas, if you like that kind of content, subscribe to Cheap Pop, share the video. That's all I can really say. Word of mouth is the main thing I can do for that channel right now. That and just throwing as much energy and creative content as I can at the wall and hope something sticks. Let's see. What up, Manny? You get stocked up on toilet paper? Yeah. I'm actually fortunate because my wife got paranoid about everything with COVID-19, coronavirus and all that, like a week before I did, maybe a week and a half before I did. Like, just her being pregnant in general, she's had some, little moments where she's been a little extra anxious about things. And that's normal, her freaked out that the house wasn't ready yet, that we didn't have the nursery moving in the right direction yet. And so projects like that came about, right? Like, it's nesting. It's a natural thing. And she wanted the house to be ready, but she also wanted to make sure we had stuff. So she freaked out about this beforehand and actually made a big supply run on her own one day to like Costco and got a bunch of stuff, including toilet paper. And I just kind of was like, okay, sweetie, that's nice. I'm glad you feel better now. And then it was like a week and a half later when, on the 11th of this month, we were at our favorite restaurant for our anniversary dinner that night, and the Mavericks game was on in the bar. We weren't watching it because it was anniversary. And as we're sitting there, I can kind of see the TV from where I'm sitting, but I'm not watching the game. And I noticed I kept cutting to Mark Cuban on the sideline, and he was talking with someone, and there was some banner going across the bottom with a breaking news thing, but I couldn't quite make it out. And I was like, okay, something weird's happening. So I looked at my phone, and that's when I realized, oh shit, the NBA suspended its season. And that's when it clicked for me how big this was going to be and how significant this was going to be. And so I haven't gone back to work physically since the 11th. I was there that day. I popped in Thursday to grab my laptop to work from home. And since then, I've been home 90% of the time, at least. Just extreme social distancing. I'm not doing the full isolation or anything, but very much trying to protect myself, and really more so trying to protect my wife and unborn daughter, because, it's a higher risk kind of thing. So I just need to be very, very careful and attentive there. But thankfully, in terms of some of that stocking up on supplies, my wife helped. I get paid tomorrow, and it's liquor first and grocery store second. That's the right way to go about it, man. I have definitely made a couple runs to the liquor store to shore up with several bottles of goodies. Ran out of toilet paper, so I had to order a Rockets and Texans gear. That's savage, but I feel like that's very expensive. Let's see. At least we didn't trade our number one receiver for a below average running back. Woo! Let's see. Those old school movies like Alien and Aliens. Probably that's almost criminal that I didn't immediately mention those. But yes, those two, very much in my top 10 for sure. Movies like Alien and The Thing were ahead of their time. Classic. Absolutely were. Let's see. Man, that day was so crazy. It really was. My Cowboys family, what up? Alcohol, and for others, medicine. Yes. Yep. That is my medicine for sure right now. I mean, my mild concern for myself, the one thing I don't have that makes me personally anxious is I have like really mild asthma. I had it bad when I was a kid, and I've barely needed my inhaler at all the last few years, but I do have days, especially this time of year, where I do need it, where I do have a tightness in my chest or a wheeze, and I just need a couple puffs of the inhaler, and it's usually like once in the morning and once in the evening, and I'm fine. Well, because I haven't been to my personal physician in so long, it's been probably 3 years since I've gone. I can't go back, and my inhaler is now empty, and I can't just get someone to fill my prescription. Well, guess what? COVID-19 is a respiratory infection, and they've already said people with asthma are at a higher risk, not just for contracting it, but being much more so impacted by it in terms of their breathing and all of that. So that is a very big concern for me. I'm trying to figure out how to basically get my inhaler prescription filled. It's kind of like and especially in the US, you only go to the doctor if you're sick. And even then, I have like an urgent care right next to my house. And so when I've gotten sick in the past, a couple of years past, when it was like the flu or a head cold or something, I just popped over there and I would get a shot or something and I'd be fine. That was it. They couldn't fill my inhaler though for some reason. And now, because I'm no longer considered a patient of my regular doctor I had before, I'm like out in the cold on that. So I definitely got to figure that out. That's very stressful. My Cowboys family, hope you and your wife and soon to be born child are doing well. We are very much doing well right now. Sean is 6.5 months pregnant at this point. Still waiting on a name. Still waiting to get her to sign off on a name. But our daughter will be here mid-June, probably about June 18th. I jokingly suggested that we had her induced a week earlier so I could get June 12th for the anniversary of the Mavericks championship. I thought that would just be perfect. But that is not happening. So, yeah, June 18th. And the little one will be here. We'll figure out a name, hopefully by then. I've got the names I like, and I've pitched them, and I've even made clear what my favorite one is. She likes the name, but she feels weird. It's our first one, and she feels weird applying a name to any child, to any human life. She feels weird branding a name, basically. So, kind of throws her off a little bit, I guess, but she likes the name, and she's even kind of alluded to whenever she thinks about our soon-to-be-born daughter, she does use in her mind the name that I like. So I think it's a matter of time, only a matter of time, but we'll get there. Your birthday is June 17th, says Glad. Nice. Well, hey, it could be June 17th. Depends. Kiddo might come early. Let's see. But yeah, other than that, we're doing good. I'm just juggling work, school. Everything's work from home, work and school. Have not missed a beat, so I have some more downtime, but still very little overall. And that's kind of had a damper on it. Even if sports hadn't pretty much hit a standstill for the most part, I still think I would be hard-pressed to jump on here too often, which I hate because I like jumping on here and talking with you guys and creating content, but it is what it is. It just have to work through it. Your daughter's B-Day is tomorrow. It's tough when they're turning 13 and missing their friends and celebrating. Yeah, that is absolutely difficult. I can only imagine. My wife's upset because she's not going to get to have her baby shower in all likelihood. It's her first one as well, obviously. And because of that, with her not having her baby shower, it's just, that was something she was really looking forward to and all that. A lot of her friends over the years have already had kids younger. They had theirs in like their mid-20s, early and mid-20s. Her and I are, I'm 30 now. She's 29. But that's definitely something that definitely saddens her a little bit, and I feel bad about that because there's nothing I can do to help with it. It's like I can make a video conferencing thing with everybody, but that doesn't quite do it. And then, who knows? I might not even, at the rate things are going, I might not even be allowed in the actual room when my daughter is born. And that sucks too. I mean, there's already certain states kind of doing that thing where you're not, like, one person's allowed in the room, and it's not like you can rotate them out. It's like you gotta be fully sterilized just to get into that room, and then you're just there. So maybe I will be able to, but maybe I won't. I don't know. And then once kiddo's born, a lot of people are going to want to see her and all that. And it's like, on one hand, they probably aren't going to get to. And even if we had the green light to take her around some of the people, we would feel very uncomfortable with virtually anybody. So it's funny. It's not funny, haha funny, like ironic funny. Sean and I have been together like 11 years. We've been married for 4. And we talked about kids pretty much constantly the last 2 or 3 years. And now when we're finally having a kid, effing global pandemic sweeps in and makes it just a complete clusterfuck. And there's not really anything to do about that. You kind of just got to weather the storm and just say, all right, well, this is more adversity than I wanted or expected right out of the gate. But you know what? Doesn't change it. Kiddo's coming. Kiddo's coming, and we just got to square our shoulders and just face it head on. It's going to be tougher. It's going to be added challenge and difficulty, but we're not the only ones having to go through it, so we'll figure it out. Let's see. Can't wait for basketball to come back. I don't care if they play without fans. I agree with that. Yeah, I would very much like to see basketball come back even if the arena is empty. I think that'd be just as good. I mean, hell, wrestling's already been doing that. The last few shows I've had to review for AEW and that I've watched for WWE are completely empty. Empty arenas, so that's weird too. They might not even have an NFL season. We shall see. Yeah, that's a very real, very real possibility. Let's see. DDP is the GOAT. I don't know what makes me the GOAT, Gle, but I appreciate the support. Let's see. Let's see. I've been going an hour. Nice. That's cool though that you guys are able to do something, my Cowboys family. Do something for her. That's really cool. We have seen her parents a couple times and her brother and his wife once recently, but they're also basically quarantined at home, not leaving anywhere. So it felt slightly less risky interacting with them briefly the other night. And they live in my same neighborhood, our same neighborhood, so it makes it a little easier to get to them. But we'll see. I'll take like 2 or 3 more questions, guys. And I know I say that usually and then end up staying on another like 30 minutes, but I am pressed for time tonight. Like I said, I am still in a work schedule mode, so I've got I think my meeting tomorrow is like 8:30. But all the same, I'll need to get some sleep and everything. So hit me up with like 2 or 3 questions. Anything, open forum, and we'll go from there. And we'll wrap things up. Still weird seeing my face on the screen here with the Fu Manchu. It's not even Fu Manchu, with the horseshoe. It's weird because, like I said, I hadn't shaved the beard pretty much completely in like 2.5 years. Certainly I had trimmed it up and I had done plenty to tear it down to like a base form, but hadn't done this in quite some time. And every time I actually see my face then after doing it, it's always jarring. And because I'm pretty much just staying at home right now, you don't see your own reflection that often. So like the only time I notice it during the day is if I catch myself, I have a tendency to like stroke the beard a little bit. And I'll be like, oh, right, my beard, it's gone. Or I'll see it in the morning and I'm always like, oh God, what did I do? But seeing it here, not terrible, all things considered. Still don't think I'm keeping it long. It'll probably be different the next time I jump on here. Who is your favorite non-Mav NBA player of all time? Non-Maverick NBA player of all time. I mean, for a long time that answer, because I'm too young to have really seen Jordan. So like Michael Jordan, I could give a cheap answer of that and say what most basketball fans would say. For years it was then Vince Carter, but Vince Carter did become a Maverick, so I guess that disqualifies him from the discussion. Tracy McGrady was pretty legit for a while. I will say this, yeah, Tracy McGrady with the 13 points in 36 seconds or whatever to beat the Spurs in that game was one of the most insane things I'd ever seen. Um, hmm. That is a tough one because before he snaked OKC, I would have said Kevin Durant. Then I would have said Russell Westbrook. Maybe Westbrook has a lot of respect from me, but I never really felt like he was my favorite player. Favorite non-Maverick player. You know what I mean? Yes, because Tracy McGrady won so much with the Rockets, right? The only time he was on the Rockets roster when they got past the first round was when he was hurt and not playing. But yeah, that is a good one. It would have to be someone. It would have to be someone that I guess was a Thunder player then. So Westbrook would be in consideration, I guess. I mean, it's always been like not a love hate. That's too harsh of a word, but a strained fandom slightly. But yeah, I don't know. That is a very, very good question. There's a lot of respect I have for a lot of guys, but in terms of actual fandom, Vince Carter was probably the closest. And again, he eventually became a Maverick, so it kind of washed out. A little hate in that comment. About Russell Westbrook, I mean, I watched his entire career. Again, I'm from Oklahoma, so even though I was a Mavericks fan before OKC ever had a team, the Thunder were like my second team. And so I always watch both teams. I've seen Westbrook's whole career. And so I love a lot of the things he does. I love his heart and effort and hustle and all of that. But at the same time, I see the flaws and the frustrations that can get in the way. I see how he can get tunnel vision. I see how at times he tries to do too much himself and how it can be a detriment to the offense and things like that. I have no ill will towards him, but at the same time, I never fully embraced him. The biggest thing I embraced about him, other than his heart and leadership and hustle, was his loyalty. I have no ill will at all for him requesting the trade from OKC after last year's playoffs. And hey, that deal worked out great for OKC. Apparently, Chris Paul's been exactly what they needed, and I am shocked to say that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm very curious to see what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander can develop into. I don't think he's a superstar potential, but I think he's got star potential for sure. And OKC robbed the Clippers blind on that trade. The OKC has like such an embarrassment of first-round draft picks. It's insane. And then you see the players they got and how good they still have been this year, and it's just ridiculous. Ridiculous. T-Mac and the Rockets. What, that was the comment you sensed Tate on? I liked T-Mac fine. You gave us, trouble when we had the 7-game series that one year. You beat us in Dallas the first 2 games, then we beat you in Houston the next 2 games. The series went to 7, and in game 7, we blew your ass out by like 30 or 40 points or something. But, yeah. That was a cool Houston team to watch. You'd have, Rick, who is it? You'd have, not Brent Barry. What was his brother's name? Not Rick Barry. Not Brent Barry. John Barry? Whatever. You'd have the bald Barry knock down his second 3 of the game and talk trash. Like, you like that? That's my 5th point right there. All right, dude. Cool. But, fun times. That was a really good Mavericks team, and it was the next year they went to the finals for the first time. Brandon Roy was a fun watch. If basketball season starts back, I think it will be an advantage for the Rockets and some teams. Yeah. I mean, we'll see how things are. I think they should just launch back into the playoffs when they come back. Don't F around with any regular season games. Just take the seeding as it is and see what happens. Mavericks be the 2 or the 7 against the 2-seeded Clippers. I don't honestly recall off the top of my head now that it's been a couple weeks. I don't remember what the standings are, if the Rockets are 5th or 6th. I think OKC is still 6th. But regardless, I think the matchup should just go as they are. And just see. Like, the playoffs are a long process anyway. And if we're not starting potentially until June or late May, then we might as well just jump straight into the damn thing. So, I mean, how many games are we really leaving on the table, regular season-wise? 14? At most 17? Like, just go. Just get into the playoffs and let's just do it. But anyway, I think that's going to wrap up my time, guys. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. I'll try and do these once a week. I'll try and do these open forums. Just, you know, if you want, do me a solid. Like the video, leave a comment. Obviously, you've been commenting in the side the whole time. But let's just keep rolling these. Just keep tuning in every week. We'll keep rolling them out. And we'll get through this thing together. But until next time, guys, don't forget, every legend was once a prospect. Salute. Oh, God, I messed up my own tagline.